Check, check, check. Hello, hello. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Spanish Ballroom here at McMenamins at the Elks Temple in Tacoma, Washington. My name's Kareem Kandi. I'm the executive director of the Kareem Kandi World Orchestra, and this is part of our regular monthly concert series that we do, always on the first Sunday of every month. Today it's a very special event because we're here to honor the great composer, arranger, saxophonist, man about town, the great Bill Ramsay. Yes. This event has been a couple years in the making. A good friend of mine, Tracy Knope, and I have talked about this for a couple years, and over the last year, many of our great artists are checking out, and we've said, hey, we need to do something for these guys while they're still here to enjoy it. So we want to have a party, have some music and play, so it's very important to us to let these people know how much, how dear they are to us and how much we love them for all the work that they've done and all the music that they've given us and made the community better. So I'll be very, very brief. I first met Bill. This was in 1996. I was a young music student. I was of Tracy Knope's here. And he was doing a club, playing a club on Pack Ave here in Tacoma called Drake's. And I used to take the money at the door. And so everyone that came to the door, I'd take the cover charge and then pay the band after. Well, one day, two couples come up and they wanted to get in without paying. And I was like, no, 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 I'm sorry, you have to pay like everybody else. And so I knew who Bill Ramsay was by the newspaper, but I didn't know what he looked like. So I had no idea. So it caused some commotion, and Tracy came over and said, oh, Kareem, I'd like to introduce you to Bill Ramsay and his wife, Frankie, and Chuck Stentz and Jan Stentz. All these people are like superheroes in the music community. I was mortified. I'm so sorry. Of course, come right in and enjoy the show. From that point on, Bill would always call me to work the door for him at Red Kelly's because he knew that I would make everybody pay the money at the cover charge. So that was the start of our relationship, and it was a huge education for me because I got to meet all these wonderful musicians in the Ramsay Klebe Orchestra, John Hanson, Chuck Deerdorf, John Weekon, Pete Chrisley, of course Tracy and Bill. All these great, it was a huge education, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And aside from that, when I was 16, 17, I was fortunate enough to be able to play in the Tuxedo Junction band, it was a fun band to play with, a lot of characters, but I got to sit next to Bill and learn from him good and bad things, I suppose. But I can't thank Bill enough for his friendship. He's one of those musicians, if you know him, he's got a great sense of humor. He's not someone to tell you what to do. He's just, in all of the meaning of the word, he's just hip. He's very kind. He's a great musician and all about the music and a beautiful human being. So, Bill, we love you so much. Thank you so much for everything, and glad to be here to do this for you today. Now, this also wouldn't have been possible without all the help with Tracy Knope, so please, a nice round of applause for Tracy. Greg Williamson. And, of course, Jay Thomas. I grew up watching all these guys, thanks to Bill, and like I said, I can't thank him enough for all of the music and great times, good memories, and education, which has allowed me to become, hopefully, a better musician. So, blah, 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 blah. Enough about that. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to be able to do this, and at this time, we'd like to turn things over to our master of ceremonies, the one and only beloved community member and DJ, the great Dick Stein. Put your hands together for Dick Stein.
Sorry if I'm hobbling. I had a moment this morning of, superhuman strength lifting a Prius off of a road-killed opossum. Felt okay at the time, but now I'm really paying for it. It's good dinner, though. Kareem has pretty much said it all. It's wonderful to be here. He said, let's do this, well, they're still here, and I think it's great that we're doing it while we're all still here, and having a great time. I thought it was just going to be small groups. It's so exciting, thrilling to see it's going to be this monster big band. We're going to hear some wonderful music. I used to go to Drake's too back in the day, but first encountered Rams at a lovely little charming dump called Red Kelly's. Where I first met Tracy as well, who I've been trying to get to play the Woody Woodpecker song as a bebop number for 30 years. you're going to get around to it. Yeah, still working on it. It was a great place and wonderful music and a great venue for the Ramsay Cleve Big Band. And in between, Red Kelly would tell these awful, awful jokes, like sort of like Rodney Dangerfield jokes. He'd say, "Hey, my wife likes to talk during sex. Last night she called me from a motel in Fife." Thank you. I was hoping for that, Greg.
You need some help, buddy.
So over the course of the day here, we're going to hear a lot of really great music, some of the Ramsay Cleve charts, some Basie stuff, all kinds of wonderful music. We're in for a terrific time. I've already talked way too much, so let me turn it over to the real attraction here, and let's all have a great time. Thanks for coming, everybody.
I've prepared a few remarks. That's a joke. We're going to start off with some of the Count Basie material that Rams played baritone sax with for many years. Rams, how long did you play with Count Basie? A week. There we go. And he's still waiting for the check. This is Blues in Hoss Flat. That's Mike. Mike Mines on the trumpet. Trombone. Who played trombone? Connor? Connor Eisenmenger on trombone. Saxophone. How about a hand for this band, huh? All right, next we're going to play another classic from the Count Basie Library. This was an arrangement by Frank Foster, good friend of Ram's. This is called In a Mellow Tone. Nothing open?
That one's over there.
One, two, oh, 1, 2, and. All right. See if you recognize this one. But first, I have a story. I think one of the first times I played with Bill Ramsay, I was, maybe this is about a year after I'd moved back to town. I was living in Tacoma, and I was living just down the street from the Point Defiance. And Rams called me up one day, and he says, I just want you to know you're 4 hours late for the gig. I said, what? He says, yeah, we had that gig today. And oh, man, I totally spaced it. Didn't have a calendar. This was before Palm Pilots or anything. And I said, why didn't you call me like 4 hours ago? I could have been there in 5 minutes. And he says, yeah, but this way we get to keep your money. True story. I never missed a gig again. The top room. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's turn down the Summer Serenade. All right. Summer, oh, here it is, yeah. I got it. All right, we're going to introduce an arranger and a friend of Bill's named Milt Cleve. And Milt and Bill had several bands together. And I'm actually fortunate enough to teach at Western Washington University, where all of Milt's original scores and charts had been donated. And so we have a couple file cabinets full of Milt Klebe charts for 10-piece and big band. And this is one that's been in this book for a long time. It's always been one of my favorites. I first heard and played this in Jay Thomas's band, and this is going to feature Jay on an arrangement that Milt did of Summer Serenade. That's quite
Yeah, it is.
Where's all the dancers?
You guys are drinking.
We open the doors?
I don't get it.
Traitor. Don't bang the mic. One, two, 1, 2. It's Jay Thomas on the flugelhorn.
Jake. What's up?
Let me see. Let's do the audible. The more I see you. All right, we're going to bring a guest up. We had Scott Brown sit in with the band a couple months ago, and we played this next Basie tune. I thought it was apropos. Looked as if Scott was going to be here, and so I made him available. So we're going to bring Scott Brown to the stage to play the part of Al Gray in The More I See You.
And don't put too much ink in the front of it. What's going on with it?
You should clap for Scott. He's kind of shy. He's kind of an introvert. So this is from a recording in which Basie Live says, "Hey, Al Gray on trombone." Everybody say it. Al Gray on trombone.
Dorian Gray?
Well, this is an awful lot of rigmarole for one piece of music. Let me turn that up just a little bit. So, Bill Ramsay has always been wonderfully supportive of me. I followed at Roosevelt High School his good friend Waldo King, who he used to call Guz, for reasons that we shall remain private. But we became good friends through Seattle Repertory Jazz Orchestra, and I got to know him from his time in the Basie band with Al Gray. And he always told me, "Scott, you need to be wearing a pith helmet." And I could never find a pith helmet, which is what you're supposed to, it's one of those white, anyway. So I'm going to do this without pith helmet, and hopefully I can do justice to Al Gray's version of The More I See You. As soon as I get the music standing.
Scott is recently unemployed,
With good reason.
so if you need a pizza delivered,
What year is it?
76.
we only got the hall until 9:30.
Yeah.
Not too slow.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Scott Brown on trombone. Red Bank? Should we finish with Red Bank? Or butter? Let's do butter. All right. So moving ahead from the Count Basie era, this is a really great arrangement that was on the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra, 20 years at the Village Vanguard, which was started by Thad Jones and Mel Lewis, that band. And this is an arrangement written by an old friend of Bill's, Jerry Dodgen, that was on that record. And this is called Butter, and dedicated to Butter Jackson, trombonist. Wait a minute. Schroeder, you got the right page up?
I got all three.
Okay.
I got the first two to start with.
Are you going to start with the first two?
Yep.
Okay. When are you going to play the third page?
In the right time. At the right spot.
One, two, one, two, three. How about a hand for this great band? That's Greg Schrader on the trombone. Funny story, we played some of this set last, a couple weeks ago at Boxley's Jazz Club, where we play every third Friday. And man, Schrader was a trooper. He got to that page a little bit ahead of time, stood up and played his part. Nope, not yet. Next time, stood up, played his part. Nope, not yet. He kept trying it, and he finally got it. And we're so pleased that he got to it in the right time today. So have a hand for Greg Schrader on the trombone. David Bentley on bass trombone.
Part of the A team, Rams. That's what you get.
Stuart Hambley on trombone. Connor Eisenmenger on trombone. In the saxophone section, Matzo Limtiako on bari sax. Chris Fagan on tenor. Lead alto, Tracy Knope. Travis Rainey on the other alto, and just about everything else today. Alexei Nikolov on tenor. In the trumpet section, Jay Thomas. Mike Mines on lead. Andy Omdahl on lead. Yay! Mike Von Beber on almost lead. And I come to the best section in the band, the rhythm section. This is Heather Kriskaden on the bass. Yay! And John Hansen on the piano. My name is Greg Williamson. We're going to take a break, maybe have some speakers. If you've got something to say, please keep it to yourself, because we have a program here. And we're going to be back with some more music. We've got, Jay is going to wrangle up a band called Tenor Dynasty, which is a Ramsay thing that had a bunch of tenor saxophones in it. Then we've got a Milk Cleave 10-piece. Then we're going to finish off with some more Basie at the end of the afternoon. So don't go away. Thanks.
Very rudimentary. Thanks. You know, I play it once a week, and I've got like 5 minutes of any.
There's a new generation taking up the challenge to raise the consciousness of all mankind. Turn it straight without a chaser, like trained a motivator, bringing on new dimensions to fundamental vibes. Unfolding revelations from
Test,
the
test.
universal source. People
Testing, testing. Hello. I'm not getting any sound. I think we need more sound in general. Can you get more sound? All right. Okay.
Let's hear it one more time for the Pony Boy All-Stars. Fabulous, kick-ass band. There's all kinds of people here today. I would like to call out when I first came to Tacoma from Alaska in 1976 and first heard Jim Wilkie on the radio. I thought, wow, that's what a jazz host should sound like, my hero. And Jim is here today. So let's have a round of applause for Jim Wilkie on KNKX. Also, tenor giant Pete Chrisleave is here today. Wonderful to see you, Pete. We're going to hear some stories about Bill Ramsay. Jay Thomas will tell one, and also Tracy Knope. I'll tell a quickie and let the real stars of this show take over. Some years ago, the Mingus Big Band came to Tacoma. Naturally, we went. It was wonderful. We'd seen them in New York at a place called Fez, accompanied by subway trains rumbling through. Something happened to one of the alto players. He took very ill and couldn't play. And the leader knew that Rams was there and asked him to fill in. And Ramsay called his wife Frankie. He said, "Get down here with my alto." He just sat down right in the seat and played a chart that he had never seen before in his life perfectly. I know it was perfect because that's what he told me. So take his word for it. Let's hear some more stories now about Rams from Jay Thomas. Jay? Here he comes, Jay Thomas.
Testing, yeah. Well, it's my pleasure to play some of the music from Tenor Dynasty. That was a band that Bill Ramsay put together in, I don't know, 1979 or something like that. And at the time, it was Chuck Stentz, our late great Chuck Stentz, played tenor. Denny Goodhue, who's missing in action, played tenor. And I got the call to play tenor also, which was really great for me. It really did a lot for me. Anyway, this is that was the second time where I got to be pretty close to Bill Ramsay. The first time I met Bill Ramsay, I was 15, and I went and heard a big band rehearsal down in Tacoma. And it was just such an awesome band. It was great. It made a big impression on me. My dad, who's here now, he helped me last night sort through this music. Anyway, my dad took me to a gig at the Olympic Hotel when I was 15. And we snuck through the kitchen, and then we looked at the band playing, and my father said, "That guy there, he's got a New York sound." He was referring to Bill Ramsay. And because Bill had such a great tenor saxophone sound. Anyway, Bill used to play tenor primarily. Well, maybe not. He played alto also. And then baritone, does everything. Okay, here we go.
How about it for Jay Thomas, ladies and gentlemen? Jay Thomas. We'd like to invite saxophonist and educator extraordinaire Tracy Knope to the microphone next. So buckle up and brace for impact.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out and hanging out with us. We've not been together, like all of us, for a very long time. Rams and Frankie, we're so glad you guys come out and hang out and have some fun. And so we can give you some props that you deserve. You know, when I got off the road and moved back to Tacoma, I was kind of a mess. I didn't know what I was going to do. But I reached out to Rams, and, you know, he really helped me find my way and let me know kind of how things worked around here. And it's really a big cause of how I've been able to support my family and myself musically for many, many years. So Rams, my words can't express how much I thank you for that. And Jay's tenor sound, of course. And yeah, you know, the Rams and Frankie have been a part of my life for a very long time. My kids slept in the crib that came from the Ramsays. Frankie would come out and set it up. She'd say, you know, I'd say, "Frankie, I can set it up." She said, "You can't set it up." She was probably right. You know, "I've got the directions, honey. Don't worry." But just know how much we care for you guys and how much we love you. And gosh, you know, it's just my absolute privilege and honor to call you two of my dearest friends. So Rams, I love you, and we hope you have a great time, and we're gonna have a great party this afternoon. Okay, baby? All right.
And one more thing before we continue the proceedings. All of the musicians, if you've played with Bill over the years, when we conclude with the concert today, we'd like to have everyone come up at the front of the stage here. We're going to take a group photo of everybody. So don't forget and stick around for the end. Thank you so much for coming. And without further ado, here's Jay Thomas and Tenor Dynasty.
Let's do this. Huh? You? Yeah, come on. I got it. So D minor. I don't know what the hell that is. So. No, it's okay. So this one's called D minor. This one goes way back. Way back. Well, who's on bass? Paul. Where is he? I don't know. Paul. Paul. one is called D minor. It's real easy. No, it's just not a brain buster. Where's our bass player? Okay, then let's get any bass player. And let's get a bass player. Okay, here we go.
Oh, hang on. What's up?
D minor.
Big Daddy.
We'll do D minor,
To the back of this.
and then let's do mellow side.
We got Pete playing.
And then Warm Valley, and then Rockin' and Rhythm. What are you gonna do, Jay? Huh? What are you gonna do? We're gonna do D minor. It's in the back of the book. Back of the book. Back of the book. Yeah, it's just the back of the book. Okay. We're gonna. Yeah, they had no sound.
Was the bass really loud?
Okay. Okay, we ready? Yep. No. No Travis. Okay. That's bad.
Oh, I just saw Travis.
Huh?
I just saw Travis out there.
Oh, I know. Okay.
Travis. Travis Rainey to the stage. He's passed out at the bar.
There we go.
I was at the band.
Here we go. D minor.
Well, okay.
I have no idea how this goes, but I know it's an old-time Ramsay chart.
Boom.
And we can do it. We have the technology.
Well, of course, I don't have to chart it.
Okay. It's on the back. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Hey, can we start over?
was a very, very early tenor dynasty arrangement by Bill Ramsay. Yeah. I love playing with these guys, and I tell you, all that rehearsing is paying off. Okay, here we go. That was called D minor. It was in D minor. And next, we're going to do one called the mellow side. Warm Valley, play it up an octave. Whoever's got the melody here. Play that damn thing up. Play it up an octave, whoever's got the melody. Warm Valley. It's going to be soft, 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 and then it's going to be heroically loud on the bridge. Okay. Okay, here we go. My reed is too fucking soft. Okay, here we go.
Where's the heroic section?
We just right on the top. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
rocking and rhythm. Next one we're going to do is one of my faves. I want to get my sopranos over there. I got to go get it. I'll get it after we start this.
Just go one page.
We can alter that. We could, instead of going we go you know, leave space and whatever. Just then walk later on. Because this one's a saga. You know, John, you have a whatever that is. It's just fourths, right?
I think it's top.
The top of the chart. So just do that, okay? You have the first 4 bars, John. Hey.
Tracy, I'll take care of it for you.
Okay, hope it's okay. 4 in front, John, and you do it later too. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. this for a moment. Sorry about that last one. The sun got in my eyes. But otherwise, pretty fun.
So really quickly, this might be too much information, but growing up and knowing all these musicians is very much like a family. Tracy Knope just came to the bandstand. For those of you who know, his mother's been very sick. She just passed away just now. He's been going through a lot. He had to leave, so he says he's sorry, but if you know him, reach out. He's going through a lot right now. So anyways, not to put a damper on the occasion here, but give him a call. We'd like to bring Dick Stein back up really quickly. How's that for a transition? Dick Stein to the bandstand, please.
No break music, please. No fucking break music. Okay. Okay, here we go. What lead player do we have? Who's going to play lead trumpet? You know.
How about another round of applause for Tenor Dynasty? And for me for braving these stairs. We're here today to honor Bill Ramsay, alumnus of some of the greatest bands in U.S. history, world history. And also, this may be lesser known, the man who sold Kenny G his first saxophone. But we forgive him for that. And without that, how could all other saxophone players sound so good? I'd like to bring up a great sponsor of music and here in Tacoma and all around, Danny Kalki.
We'll get this thing together. 15-minute break.
Hey, thanks, Dick. Really appreciate that. Wow, I can't see anyone. Super excited to be here. Super excited to be here and part of honoring Bill. Thank you so much for all that you've done for us, Bill. Loved having you out at Boxley's in the old days, you and Frankie's. So great to have you and the family out there and lots of great memories. For those of you who don't know, Jazz Clubs Northwest, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We started, 14 years ago. And we sponsor mostly, we started out at North Bend, Washington, of all silly little places, a tiny little hamlet, in the mountains. And we've got lots of members all around the area, and we're super excited to partner with folks like Kareem and do different events. And we had done the Tacoma Jazz Walk a few years, but we got shut down because of COVID, so we got to bring that one back, right? Yeah, Tacoma Jazz Walk. Well, we do have a festival in a couple of weeks. So Kareem called me and said, hey, we need some help paying for this thing because we want to give some money to the musicians. So we're so honored to be a part of this event and just to be able to give a little bit of money to support the band. And what a great band, what a great afternoon. For those of you who don't know, we have a festival coming up in 3 weeks in North Bend. It's the 12th North Bend Jazz Walk. And for those of you who don't know, we have 18 venues that night. You get a wristband. You get to wander the streets of North Bend. They're all within a 3-block radius, so it's a nice little walk in North Bend, Washington. If it's raining, bring your umbrellas. If you're a Northwesterner, forget the umbrella. All the venues are pretty close together anyway. So that is April 22nd, so you can get your tickets online early and you save money. And the proceeds of the event go to support the stuff that we do. Boxley's is a venue that does live jazz every weekend, Fridays and Saturdays, and often on Thursdays. We sponsor the Pony Boy Big Band, All-Star Big Band, once a month. We have a Pro-Am Big Band, which features professionals playing with amateurs and students. So like every other chair is a student, and that's a band that meets once a month, the night before the Pony Boy All-Stars. So we sponsor that as well. We do a bunch of different workshops and clinics, and very active in the area. So check out the North Bend Jazz Walk, northbendjazzwalk.com. Thanks for coming out today.
All right, so we're just going to take a short pause, get the 10-piece up here. Again, Bill, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for all your music, all of your just being a great human being and being a model to everybody. I'll tell a story to kill some time here while we're in between. I remember one time we did a show. Bill had contracted. It was with the Four Tops and the Temptations at the Puyallup Fairgrounds. And there was a feature. There was a saxophone feature on Harlem Nocturne. And so it gets to the point where the solo is supposed to occur, and everything kind of dies down, and Bill stands up and plays. And I don't think that they were expecting much from this old white man, but he absolutely crushed the solo. It was amazing, took everybody by surprise. It was mind-blowing, and everybody loved it. And I wish you could have been to be there to see it. It was impressive. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about it for Bill Ramsay? Give it up for Bill Ramsay. I have so many great memories of watching him and the band play at Red Kelly's back in the day. And as I mentioned, it really did feel like a family, just the relationships of all the musicians and the dynamics and the music. And if you were there to experience it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're so glad to be able to be here today to give Bill our appreciation and tell him how much we love him and appreciate him. So thank you, Bill. A couple more minutes here, and we'll get the big band started. Stick around. Pete says he's coming to sit down. Pete Chrisley, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, my name is Dan, but to Rams, I'm the son-in-law. And yeah, man. So we're going to play something here pretty soon. But I thought before the RKO happened, I remember 1991, I'm doing a gig with Rams at the Olympic Four Seasons. It might have been a Bobby Medina gig or something, I don't know. And this guy's walking towards Rams, kind of like a very kind of elegant gentleman, looked like a British colonel. Okay, it turned out it was Milt Klebe. I didn't know him at the time. You know what I'm saying, though? He had that kind of button-down look, those of you who knew Milt, and he kind of strolled slowly over to Rams was sitting in one of the armchairs, and I was in the one across from him. And Milt got right up next to Rams and put his butt in his face and cut the biggest fart. and that's how I met Milt Klebe, so I never quite recovered. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Milty's here in spirit. Right, Rams? Have you recovered from that? No, okay.
Let's play a couple choruses out front of Adam's apple, and then we'll come in. On the third chorus, come in. Got the kick up.
guy said something about the mics don't work the way you think they do. I put it in the direction there. The diaphragm's on the side, not the top. Yeah. There you go. Wow. There you go. Nope.
I know, but I'm looking for you. It should be
says open here.
Let's open it up at H and then we'll Q out of H. I got G. There's no second tenor chart in the book for it right now. Just it should be. It's really in unison. It's really in unison. There you go.
Okay, I'll play unison.
I got about 12 copies at home.
Well, Adam's apple. But it's not under your book.
I'll just read it.
Right.
You see this? Not in one of the other books. Second tenor books are the second tenor part.
Where's all the parts? There's two tenors.
Shit.
There's two tenors, isn't there?
Nothing here. Maybe Mark's
Why
got
do
it.
I have a
That's a tenor.
half of my
That's a tenor.
half
That's
of
a
my
tenor.
twos are tenor tunes in here? This is the other book.
I got it.
You got it.
Wait a second.
There should be
You
other
got it?
tenor parts.
You don't. No tenor. These are all tenor charts.
Where's the tenor? Give him the tenor chart.
I've got one alto chart in this whole book. These are all tenor charts.
There you go. Give him that.
These are also tenor charts. Just keep it there.
Where's the alto book? I've been looking at
Wait, wait a
in
minute.
a
I
book
got
that
it
says
over here.
alto. Oh,
Hang on.
never seen that before.
Here.
Oh, hey, look at that. There we go.
Grab that. It's got to be in there. Are we done yet?
Well, yeah. The dancers are getting nervous, guys.
I got a gig on Tuesday. I got a gig on Tuesday.
Okay. Let's do 3 choruses out in front, okay? I start screaming, then play the.
This Cherokee.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
going to do one called Everything I Love, and this was a feature on the CD, Kelly's Heroes, and Bill sounded so great on this, unbelievable. And tonight we're going to have Travis going to be playing it. No. Okay. So it's a whole chorus up front here. You rubido, and then at B you're in tempo. So go ahead, John. They can get this shit together.
G is open for solos, right? Yeah. Trumpet, trombone, piano at G.
And watch out for the bridge. Many people have died.
Bridge to die on. Bridge to die on is right. I have a few times. Well, I should have practiced it. Trying to show us up. I know. Why? Here we go. One, two, three.
And that's at D, right? Open. Then we'll play it out from when we get the background. Yeah. The backgrounds will be at E. They have the. It's really cheap. Oh. There you go.
Backgrounds are F. E is sax.
We good? Here we go? Here we go. D is open? Yeah, D is open. Okay. You guys are trading and doing everything. World War III. One.
That's Alexei Nikolov on the saxophone. And this guy, holy cow. All right, we're gonna take a short break. How about a hand for Matzo Limtiako on baritone sax, Travis Rainey on the alto, Dan Marcus on trombone, Jay Thomas wrangling from the back row, Andy Omdahl, Paul Gabrielson on the bass, John Hanson on piano. My name's Greg Williamson still, and we're gonna take a breath and then reset for the big band and finish it off. I hope we have a few more remarks because why not? Oh, here we go. Here's Paul Gabrielson to say a couple things. He's got his laundry.
Yeah, I copied him with the phone.
I just wanted to mention that the bass player that played with this band, Chuck Deerdorf, who we lost last October 9th, I paid tribute to him in this last set. And also, it's his birthday tomorrow. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that we're all missing Chuck, and he was a big part of this band.
Okay, well, give me that. I'll look at it because I shaved off a whole bottom line on the end of the C part. On that same side. Put it on top of the bass player. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, 15 minutes. Take 15 minutes.
All right, again, thank you everybody for coming and hanging out and enjoying the music and paying tribute to Bill. One more time, about a big round of applause for Bill Ramsay, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Ramsay. So we're just taking a short break here. Again, this is part of our regular concert series. So if this is your first time here, every single month, the first Sunday of every month right here, live music, absolutely free, all ages. Happy to do it, and hopefully you're enjoying being here. Yeah, we're just going to take a short break, and we have to wrap things up at 3 o'clock. So we wanted to make sure if you wanted to say something to Bill, or if you're joining us online on the live stream, feel free to put comments and stories there. They'll remain online so people can read them later. So we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to be heard. And thank you so much to Dick Stein for joining us and being here as an MC. Please put your hands together for Dick Stein, ladies and gentlemen. One more thing before we transition into the next group. Musicians, as I mentioned earlier, if you're here, if you've played with Bill or if you've known Bill, we're going to do a group photo right here at the front of the stage afterwards. So stick around for that. Be a part of that, please. We'd appreciate it. And without further ado, we hope you enjoy the big band after the break.
then like you can make multiple page PDFs. Like if you want to make a page of a whole score or something, you just add a page here. Right. And then like but
That's awesome, man. Both sets.
licenses, but then it will automatically make it a
Try
PDF.
your horn.
Mine? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if my mouth is a horn. Because my horn is really dodgy.
Sure.
I gave a flugelhorn to him.
And then once you get the multiple page, however, if you're infinite pages, you can be like, that page should be like, wait, where's my mouth? Something's wrong.
Something's wrong with it.
You want to use this on?
I know, but I tried to play this fucker on.
Something's wrong.
Well, I had a hole in this thing. And Brad fixed it, I thought. I had a hole in my chair.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yes. There was a hole in the floor.
Short imagine like all year, you know, it's like there are like diminishing returns. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Probably a gold clock zone. You know the book much better than I do. Take the lead parts, right?
No, I mean, we don't really play this because we're all reading this book, so just go ahead and play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really nice.
We saw some of these tunes once.
Well, it's also kind of like I'd like to have my own, just, you know, play out. I like this. Yes, it is. But you want like what range? Is there anything like $1,000?
Too bad John is on it.
That's what I'm thinking. That's a Bobby. It's a 63
That is Travis. He's playing alto now.
way better though.
I just moved up on his chair or something.
It's still hard to play. It's like 25% better. Yeah, it
You
sounds
know
like
what?
shit.
Put it in this stand, and I just
I have one with me right now. Yeah, go get his leg. I can play out.
or I can play second alto and you bring. I don't have my alto with me. I was sitting on the floor. We moved it over here out of the way to get it out of harm's way.
Hey, Nathaniel!
Because the trombones. Okay, we got another alto. To step on. We got another alto.
Nathaniel Schleimer to the bandstand. Nathaniel Schleimer. Nathaniel, get your alto, mate.
Nathaniel's got his out. Yeah, that's great. Nathaniel. Yeah, there we go.
What? No, it's not. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we did it a month ago, I guess, or the last. Did I ever tell you the biggest problem with bands with other people? So I sat in with him on tenor. He goes, I love you play tenor? And I said, yeah. He goes, fuck you. That was the biggest compliment he could have given me.
I'm gonna cut off half of this piece and elongate the
Oh, hey Jay, isn't there just like four words? Oh, there is. Of course, this is the big band. I guess so. How many guys go? No second alto. Okay.
Well, it says alto 1 though. It seems like there's an alto 2. But you can play alto 1 with me. That's fine. It's mainly unison anyway. It really is. So, I mean, it's just straight up.
Just give him the cake.
I mean, it's really unison. The whole like first these pages. Let's start with Until I Met You. And then we'll do Bob Suey. This is James Old. He had it for a hot minute, and then he didn't like it. He had another cod. He hears the cod. All right, welcome to the final show. The final set. We have a couple. We've tagged in a couple subs. This is Daniel Brockman on the tenor saxophone. Raise your hand, Daniel. Stand up. Oh, you are standing. Oh, sorry. And Nathaniel Schleimer sitting in. Yay. When I realized this was actually going to happen, one of the first tunes I thought of was Count Basie's Corner Pocket. I know this is one of Rams's favorites. So this is Corner Pocket, which was later titled Until I Met You when they put words to it. Manhattan Transfer did. And so if you know the words, sing along.
This is optional. Greg, are we repeating up on the top here?
Read the ink.
It says optional repeat.
Read the ink. Is it an ink? Repeat it is. All right, one time repeat. One time repeat. As is. Don't steal any more solos from John. One, two, 1, 2, 3. All right. One of my favorite memories of playing with Rams, and it's not a memory because it's living. It's here now. Is a thing he called Bop Suey, and I was tickled when I found this in the Milk Cleve archive. It's a bunch of bebop tunes all mashed together, and at the top it says arranged by Bill Ramsay. So this is what they called Bop Suey, and bonus points after the tune. Let me know how many bop tunes are encapsulated in this. So it's a 10-piece, but double up on horns if you can reach over and see it. Yeah. Plenty of room. It's all unison anyway. Mutes are kind of fun on this. If you're doubling apart, grab a mute. Everybody? Well, you know, mixed and somebody mute, somebody not. Bonus points if you got a couple of you.
Oh, yeah, there's a cheat sheet
Let's
here.
not open this up at all. Let's just straight.
Bob Suey for W.
Yeah, jump in if it looks like you've got a song. I just see F 32 bars.
Oh, I see it. I get it.
I got F and G. F2, F3 and H.
Probably the rhythm part, 16s.
I is piano.
It's a math game.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Basie tune. Any requests? Freckleface? Yeah. Why not? Freckleface. Freckleface? Scott Brown? Scott Brown. Freckleface. Scott Brown to the bandstand. We're going to finish off with one more classic from the Basie library. This is called Freckleface. While we're changing up bones, I want to thank all the sponsors that made this happen. Kareem Kandi World Orchestra, McMenamin's here, Spanish Ballroom, does a really nice job of putting on this. Jazz Clubs Northwest kicked in to help pay for half the band. We love that. Thanks to Jazz Clubs Northwest. You can come see this band the third Friday of every month at Boxley's in North Bend. And how about a hand for Bill Ramsay? Jesus. And thanks to his family for getting him here. And thank all of you people for liking this music, because this is a lot of fun. It's a great excuse for community and seeing people and friends and even people you don't like anymore. I spent way too many years on the road with Don Rickles. I'm sorry. This is Freckleface. I know. You guys, get a room.
Oh, you're back.
Sorry. And my front.
Oh, it is your back. Back here.
Somebody help me. Temple? Yeah, okay. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, 3, and. How about a hand for this band? Up, take a bow. And we love you, Bill. Thanks for everything. Thanks, guys. Beautiful, fun show.
All right, one more time. How about it for the Ponyboy All-Star Big Band, ladies and gentlemen? And I think I can speak for everyone in this room when I say, Bill, thank you so much for all of everything that you've done for all of us in your music and just being who you are. We appreciate it. We love you. Thank you so much. That concludes the performance. Again, if you're a musician or if you've known Bill in one capacity or another, please gather at the front of the stage here. We'd like to take a picture with everybody to commemorate the occasion. Thank you all so much for coming. There's another show coming in, so we kind of have to get the hell out of here quickly. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a good afternoon.